Welcome to the most critical maritime choke point on the planet. This narrow stretch of water is known as the Strait of Hormuz. Though it spans only 21 miles at its narrowest point, its influence reaches into every corner of the global economy and every gas station. Every single day, roughly 20 million barrels of oil pass through these waters. That is nearly 20% of the world's total consumption. Imagine a world where 1/5 of the energy supply simply vanishes overnight. This is the shadow that hangs over this strategic gateway. To understand the gravity of this location, we must look beyond the water and into the heart of global trade and regional tension. The vulnerability of the strait is not just a regional concern. It is a global economic nightmare waiting to happen. If shipping here were to stop, the impact would be felt instantly. Global stock markets would react with unprecedented volatility and fear. Oil prices would skyrocket, potentially doubling or tripling within days, triggering a cascade of inflation and industrial slowdowns worldwide. This ripple effect is what experts call an energy shock. It starts here, but it ends in the prices of food, transport, and manufacturing. Military presence in the region is a constant reality. Naval destroyers and patrol boats maintain a watchful eye over these vital lanes. The threat of asymmetric warfare, such as the use of sea mines or fast attack boats, remains a primary concern for international security forces. Geographically, the Persian Gulf is essentially a giant cul-de-sac. It is an enclosed basin with only one way in and one way out. This physical reality creates a natural geographic trap. There are no alternative routes of comparable scale for the massive volume of oil exported. The shipping lanes themselves are incredibly narrow. Inbound and outbound traffic is separated by only a small buffer zone. This predictability makes the tankers easy targets. They move at slow speeds through fixed corridors that are well within range of coastal defenses. In addition to oil, a significant portion of the world's liquefied natural gas, or LNG, also passes through here, mainly from Qatar. A blockage here wouldn't just turn off the lights in parts of the world. It would freeze industrial production that relies on gas. The psychological impact of tension in the strait often causes oil prices to rise even before a single ship is actually delayed. For decades, the world has looked for ways to bypass this choke point. Pipelines have been built across Saudi Arabia and the Emirates. However, these alternatives can only handle a fraction of the total volume. The Strait of Hormuz remains irreplaceable for now. As we look to the future, the question isn't just about oil, but about the stability of the global system itself. Will the world find a way to secure its energy future, or will we remain forever vulnerable to the geography of this single passage? So this is the world's most vital energy choke point, where massive oil tankers navigate a passage just 21 miles wide. But this gateway is under constant shadow. Military tension is a permanent resident here, with radar screens scanning for any sign of disruption. Along the arid coastlines, missile batteries stand ready. The threat of mines or naval skirmishes keeps the world on high alert. If traffic stops here for even a day, the impact is felt instantly in the skyscrapers of New York and the markets of Tokyo. Oil price tickers skyrocket. For cargo ships, insurance costs surge as the risk of passage becomes a multi-billion-dollar gamble. History has shown us that when geography is difficult, humanity builds a way through. Look at the Suez and Panama canals. These marvels of engineering succeeded because they crossed narrow, flat land bridges. But the terrain surrounding the Persian Gulf is a different story. To build a canal bypassing Hormuz, engineers would need to carve through hundreds of kilometers of the most unforgiving geography on Earth. Such a project wouldn't just be an engineering challenge. It would be a diplomatic minefield, crossing multiple sovereign borders. The cost? Estimates reach hundreds of billions of dollars. That's enough to build several entire cities from scratch. Construction would take decades. A generation would pass before the first ship could ever sail through such a man-made waterway. Specifically, look at the Musandam Peninsula. It is a fortress of rock, extremely mountainous and rugged, with peaks rising straight from the sea. Cutting through this would require massive tunnel boring machines and millions of tons of explosives to move solid limestone. When you factor in the sheer volume of earth to be moved, the price tag of $200 billion starts to look optimistic. So, for the foreseeable future, we are tied to this single, narrow choke point. The world's energy security remains delicate. The Strait of Hormuz is more than just a passage. It is the fragile pulse of global commerce, a reality we cannot easily bypass. Understanding this geography is understanding the world's most critical strategic challenge. It is the rugged reality of Hormuz. Indeed, the Strait of Hormuz truly deserves its name as the heart of the global economy. And finally, this is where nearly a third of the world's seaborne oil passes through every day. Bordered by Iran, Oman, and the UAE, this 21-mile-wide gateway is a geopolitical powder keg with global consequences. A single disruption here can cause oil price tickers across the globe to fluctuate wildly, threatening international energy security. For decades, planners have dreamt of a way out. One bold proposal is the Great Canal Path, an artificial waterway cutting through land. But the technical challenges are staggering. Designers must account for massive elevation differences across hundreds of miles of harsh terrain. Extreme water shortages and the sheer environmental scale of the project makes such a canal a nearly impossible engineering feat. Even if built, a canal would simply create a new narrow passage, remaining just as vulnerable to military or political blockades. The region is heavily monitored, with naval forces constantly patrolling to ensure the flow of energy remains uninterrupted. Pipelines have been suggested as a safer alternative, snaking across the desert to bypass the treacherous waters of the strait. However, even the largest pipelines can only carry a fraction of the volume moved by a single fleet of ultra-large tankers. Furthermore, thousands of miles of exposed pipe create a different kind of risk, being highly susceptible to sabotage or local conflict. The reality remains that there is no true alternative to the strait. It is the lifeblood of modern industrial growth and cityscapes. As long as the world depends on these energy resources, this narrow waterway will remain the most critical choke point on Earth. Like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on many interesting and useful videos.